Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the next name, Al-Jabbar. So Al-Jabbar has, according to scholars, has two meanings. First, it means compeller. Compelling, it means making somebody do something, even though sometimes they don't like it. The second meaning is Al-Jabbar has a different meaning called restorer, mender, like in this case, like a broken heart. And to explain both of the names in a beautiful context, let me share a story of one of the greatest companions, Omar radiallahu anhu. So if you're ready, we're going to jump to the story. So what do we know about Omar radiallahu anhu before accepting Islam is that he was a strong, brave person. But at the same time, we also know he was very harsh, he was very angry, and because of that, a lot of people were afraid of him. And having said that, he was also against Islam and the Prophet ﷺ. And one day, he got so mad, he said, you know what, that's it. I'm going to finish it, I'm going to go and kill Muhammad. He gets his sword, he goes on his way. Something very interesting happens on the way. So when he's on the way, so there's one of the companions, sees Omar going with the sword, so hey Omar, what's going on? He says, I'm going to go and, finish this. I don't want to deal with this anymore, this Islam and Muhammad sallallahu. And this companion says very interesting saying, so before you go do that, why don't you fix your own household? You fix your own home. He says, what do you mean? He says, the companion says, you know what, did you know that your own sister accepted Islam? And this was shock for him. He said, what? There's no way. And he changed the course. He changed the course and said, you know what, I'm going to go and deal with my sister first. He goes and knocks first when he coming closer, he hears some kind of recitation. He knows it's Quran. He goes, okay, what it does is that it just makes me more angry. So the guy was true. The guy was speaking the truth. Actually, yes, his sister behind his back accepted Islam. He gets so mad. He knocks on the door harshly and say, hey, open the door. And everybody knows it's Omar. Everybody freaks out. And there was another companion who was teaching his sister and her husband, and he jumps and hides, according to the story. And then what really happens is that he gets in and says, what's going on? He says, no, nothing going on. And then he begins to beat. As you can imagine, very harsh and angry personality of the Omar radiallahu anhu. So he begins to beat the sister's husband, like putting it down and beating, and his sister gets really mad and tries to stop him. And by not knowing, he also kind of probably does something like this and ends up hitting his sister, and she begins to bleed. So there was a second shock for Omar's heart, Radiallahu heart. When he sees his own sister bleeding, it begins the next shock. You know what? And then she gets so angry and says, why don't you just read the Quran? And he bring it to me. He takes the Quran and begins to read the Quran. So that was the third final shock. As you can imagine, the reason I'm telling the story is that Allah is the one who is compeller. Sometimes His plan we don't understand. In a way that sometimes some of the hearts need to be shaken. In this case, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was kind of compelling in a way, but at the same time, once Omar also begins to read the Quran, some kind of sakina comes over and some kind of understanding. Once he does that, he says, you know what, take me to the Prophet. And everybody's worried, what are we going to do? He says, I'm going to accept Islam. And he goes, I think it's the Dar al-Arqam, the Arqam's hands, where he meets the Prophet, he accepts Islam right there, right then. The rest is history. I'm not going to go into the whole details. MashaAllah, it's a beautiful story. Umar anhu. You can watch, I think there's on YouTube, or MNBC did a few years back a story called Omar series. You can watch and learn a lot about this Sahaba, so many beautiful things. He made this Islam in a strong way. And actually, he was also, the Prophet made a dua, make one of the two Omars embrace Islam. The other one was the uncle, Abu Jahl, which he never did. But Omar ended up doing, alhamdulillah. So how do we live by this name? So first and foremost, turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a state of brokenness. We are all broken. We're trying to figure out. Nobody is perfect. We all make mistakes. Sometimes our hearts are broken. Sometimes our expectations are broken. But no matter what state you are in, we have to always turn back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the reason I will tell you in the dua, you will see. And another lesson we can learn is that whenever relationships are broken, we have to do our best to mend them. So that brings us to the daily dua. We can make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh Al-Jabbar, You are the restorer, you are the healer, you are the mender. Mend our broken hearts. Mend us, because you're the only one who can do that. So we come to you as a whole. So we come to you with a wholehearted and on this path, and guide us to the straight path. Forgive our sins. And this is the end of the episode, and I hope you enjoyed it, this name with the story. And as always, I end this video with 3 things. If you enjoy this series, if you want to get the book and follow along, click the link and get it on Amazon. If you really enjoy these episodes, please share with your friends and family so they can benefit as well. And the last but not least, if you don't want to miss the next episode, click subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode. Assalamu alaikum.